That was probably a little too quiet. I've got to find a better way to do that. But this whole screen sharing thing doesn't work. In any case, hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews. I am Sid Part 2, and I've got to stop looking at my face. But to be fair, I am very animated and incredibly engaging. Except when I'm like reading a comic, which I'm sure is probably the most boring thing in the world to watch. But you know what? It's what I like doing on my show, and I haven't gotten any complaints yet, so hey. Anyway, sorry this episode is a little bit later, but as you can see, we've got a substantial week, even though I only had 2 items on my pull list this week. Woo! This should be fun. In any case, oh, my sexy boy is doing a live stream. You know it. Hi, Matthew Bennett. Thank you, as always, for joining. What else is going on this week? Any announcements to talk about? History Month on Kiki Gentleman is officially over. No new episodes of History Month. The last thing we did was on Fate Zero, so you can go check that out. It's an anime series. Tomorrow will be our first episode of Holiday Month as we discuss the 2000 Jim Carrey film, The Grinch, the live-action Grinch movie. So look forward to that. Roscoe and I have 2 episodes in the can, and spoiler alert, we don't like either of the movies we talked about. In any case, let's go ahead and get started. As always, the last thing I read, which is Batman Annual #1. This has a lot of different writers. We got King, Snyder, Fox, Dini, Orlando, and Wilson, and then we've just got a shit ton of artists, including David Finch. So let's see here. Tom King writes our opening story, which I absolutely loved. No surprise there. And it is an origin story for Ace the Bat Hound. Nick Ruzzi left a live comment, long Halloween review for Holiday Month. It's more supposed to be about winter holidays, but I see what you're getting at. Think about it. Anyway, onto the comic itself. So yeah, we get just an origin for Ace the Bat Hound, and I love it. I love Ace the Bat Hound. More things need to use Ace the Bat Hound. I don't understand why we don't do that. It's absolutely adorable. And also, like, really fucking gritty as shit, which I love. Yeah, this is just great. And we get Tom King's very intentional panel layouts. Like, there's this page of Alfred training Ace. Hi, Red Leader. Thanks, Joel. We get this page of Alfred training Ace the Bat Hound, and it's like this, static frame. Nothing moves except for Alfred and Ace. But it's all just one scene. So we just have, like, you could read this by removing the dates. You could read this and it would all look like it's just one story. Or one, all happening at one time, but it's not. It's just the same thing happening month to month to month as we go through October into December. Yeah, I'm in love with this. This is absolutely hilarious and adorable and simultaneously badass, which is great. I love the way that it all starts out. We get this really fucked up looking opening page. Like, that's the very first thing you see when you open this comic book, besides the Munchkin ad. Or what is that? Yeah, Munchkin. Is Batman getting bit by a dog. Ace. And then it says September 2nd. And then the next thing you see is it says September 23rd. And it's a mad dog barking right at the camera, the reader, whatever. And so it's just about this idea that Joker trained this dog and broke it, as it were. And now the Wayne family, Alfred basically has adopted the dog. And so it's about how Ace came into the Bat family, and it's adorable. Tom King, I love you. Just throwing that out there. I might kind of want to have your babies, Tom King. You know. Anyway. Then we get into a story that I'll see if you can guess who wrote this story, just based on the opening narration. There are 8.5 million people living in Gotham City. That's not counting commuters, tourists, conferences, out-of-town sports fans, or visitors of other types. On average, the city system logs 5.5 emergency calls per second. There are no silent nights. Every emergency call is tapped and routed through the Bat computer systems. It's the split second before 911 operators route them, a running program analyzes them. Key phrases are juxtaposed with extant fugitive reports and flagged hotspots. Selected calls are sent to me with GPS coordinates. Any guesses based on that just mountain of exposition opening paragraph? Just random guesses. I'll take anything. It's Scott Snyder's story. Without fail, it is of course Scott Snyder's story. And like, I like the idea of how that's how Batman is able to get everywhere and know about all these crimes, as opposed to he just goes out on the roofs and you know, finds people to attack. But here's the thing. The Batman did that. And I'm sorry, like, I don't know if it's just I'm too aware of Batman, or Scott Snyder can't write anything that's originally Batman. And it just it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts reading this dude write Batman, because it's so derivative in every possible way. And then the rest of the thing has nothing to really do with that. It's just this little like quiet moment in Gotham about this idea of a silent night. So nothing amazing there. Didn't really care for it. I swear, you know those like dot pictures that like if you stare at it long enough, you're able to see the image? I think that's what's going on with these numbers on this panel. Because I swear earlier, I thought there was a very clear bat signal within that panel, and now I don't see it. I don't know if anyone else bought this. I don't know. Maybe you can see it better because of the contrast of the camera. But I thought that looked like a bat signal within the numbers, the like whiter shaded ones. I don't know. The art's okay, but still, it's a Scott Snyder story, and you can tell based on the first sentence. Declan Shelby, pencils and inks. Oh, no, it's the bat signal on the final panel. That's my bad. Matthew Bennett asks in the live comments regarding the Tom King story. We know that Batman won't kill people, but would he kill animals? He doesn't like to. He will, but he does not like to have to. It's more just because putting an animal down is a lot harder without killing it than it is for a person, just because animals don't go down as easily. But generally speaking, I know I have read Batman stories where he has killed or attacked an animal, and he doesn't like, you know, having to murder them, but sometimes he doesn't have a choice. And it's one of those things, Bill and I talked about this forever ago, Zazubar, for those that don't know. And he's a big Godzilla fan. And his whole thing is Batman versus Godzilla, like as a story, would be Batman being ready to kill him because it's just a giant monster and there's no way around that. But then getting a glance at his eyes and seeing the humanity there, the intelligence behind them. And so then Batman having to think of another way to defeat Godzilla. So no, it's an interesting question. As far as the Silent Night story went, it's Scott Snyder Batman. What can you expect? Also, I love this shirt. This is a really cool shirt. Okay, and then we have Paul Dini's story, which is a Harley Quinn story. It's called The Not So Silent Night of the Harley Quinn. I gotta say, I just really love the way that Dini writes Harley Quinn, even if I don't care for this approach of her being a role model and stuff. Like, he does just such an excellent job of Harley Quinn's dialogue and a lot of pacing in this story. We have Harley up on the rooftop of GCPD, and she's breaking into the air vent, singing, "Up on the rooftop, breaking in, down through the air vent with Harley Quinn." That's adorable. That's fun. And as she says Quinn, she's, taken by Batman. Also, really interesting that does make this story worth reading. Neal Adams is doing all the art. And he even went so far as to put Batman in the classic blue Neal Adams getup. So that was cool. And then it's just Harley and Batman driving around as things in Gotham, like bad things in Gotham, are happening, but people inspired by Harley Quinn are, not allowing those things to happen, is more or less what's going on. And so Batman drives her across town to Coney Island. It's an all right story. Again, that's just, I don't like Harley written as like a fun gag character. I like a darker Harley Quinn where it's kind of a warning to you of the consequences that come with getting involved with certain kinds of people. I like a tragic Harley Quinn more. So it's not bad. It's just okay. This Orlando story is like, it's kind of doing something I like, but not significantly enough for me to care. And then it sets up this other thing at the end. And, if everything else in the book were doing that, like setting up future story arcs, I wouldn't mind so much. But this being the only one that does it, and it's not even the Detective Comics annual, it's the Batman annual, that kind of annoyed me. So I just didn't care for that. Oddly enough, it's a really anthology comic kind of night. I only have two books, including the trade, but I only have two things to talk about that aren't several stories, so strap in. I just did not care for this story. Like, it did one thing I liked, which is Bruce Wayne thinking about using his income to help eliminate crime before it starts, kind of thing. Which is something that's kind of been in the background of a lot of Batman stories. And honestly, it's just something we don't get because it's not incredibly interesting. But I like when things mention it. It's just okay, though. Nothing great. Just kind of slightly annoyed at the whole setup thing since no one else was doing it. And then we have the Insecurity Diversion, written by Scott Bryan Wilson and Bequil Evely doing the pencils and inks. I like the beginning of this story, but this story gets a little too wordy for me. There's a Scarecrow fear gas in Gotham being distributed via drone. That's always fun. And so we have normal narration box for Batman, then like a scraggly Sorry, I'm saying a lot. Then we have a scraggly narration bubble that looks like it's in the same font, it's in the same color palette as Batman's. Then we get normal, and then squiggly, and then normal, squiggly, and then normal. So I'm just going to read those because it's an interesting idea. I smell gingerbread for a moment. I'm 6 again. Christmas Eve, and I feel anxious. Then squiggly. You're a failure, Bruce. A disgrace. Normal. A new psychologist at Arkham has decided that a holiday party is a good idea. Squiggly. A disgrace. Normal. A long line of psychologists at Arkham have had good ideas. I wanted to check in on the party after a stop in this safe house, but Gotham has a bigger immediate problem, and so do I. A real hero wouldn't need a gas mask. He would. And then Batman puts on the gas mask. Normal. That's better. Voices stopped. So I just like that it's a subtler fear gas. It's not hallucinations, but, well, I suppose voices are hallucinations. It's not LSD level hallucinations, just little subtle things that are bringing up people's insecurities. So I really like that. That was a smart touch. The rest of the story, though, is just okay. It's about this villain called Haunter, who I've never heard of. The panel layout really feels like it's trying to be Tom King, but I'm not sure if that's just because the panels or the story's pretty short and they need to fit as much as they could on the page. So, Haunter, Scarecrow, Batman stops him in the end in a way that's not entirely well explained, but because he's Batman. Believable enough, just okay. Really, if you're going to get this, get it for the Tom King story. If you like the more jokey style Harley Quinn, get it for that too. Those two are definitely worth it. The Scott Snyder one, it's not good, but it's not aggravatingly annoying. The Orlando one, again, not great or anything, not terrible, just meh. And the same with the Insecurity one. Little clever things here and there that overall, I'm glad I got this. I'm not annoyed by any of it, so. I'm not put off by any of it to the point where I was like, God, I wish that just wasn't in here. So take that for what you will. All right, moving right along to Torchwood. Oh, wait, hold on. We got a comment from Matthew Bennett. If Bruce Wayne really cared about getting rid of crime, he wouldn't spend all his money on gadgets and tights. He would donate to fix the infrastructure via schools, roads, homeless centers. This is an interesting discussion because it does come up a lot. And the answer is he fucking does. Batman spends significant portions of his income on community outreach and things of that nature, on philanthropy. Bruce Wayne is a philanthropist. I remember reading this story after War Games where Bruce was talking to this kid who was basically just, picking up trash in the Wayne building as a job, like light janitor work. And he was talking to Bruce Wayne about how he's, working to try to get enough money to go to college. And Bruce says to him, "Have you heard about our scholarship program?" It's like, "No, I haven't at all. Tell me about it. What do I need to do?" Work for me. That's it. All you have to do is work for Wayne Industries and you get a full ride scholarship. So that's a huge fucking program, considering that Wayne Industries is the biggest fucking company in Gotham, and through its affiliates and everything, most of the population works for Wayne. So you got that. But there's all kinds of examples throughout the years in the comics where Bruce Wayne does a lot of community outreach, charity, and things like that. But this is a more underlying thing, the idea that, well, if he didn't spend any of his money on Batman and put all of his money into doing that, then he would have solved the problems and he wouldn't need Batman. That argument is wrong for two reasons. Number one, There's no limit to Bruce Wayne's income. He's a fictional character. If this were the real world and there was a finite amount of money, you might be right about that. You could make that argument. It'd be okay. But the fact of the matter is, Bruce Wayne's income is limitless. So the idea that he's spending too much of his money on Batman, he's spending too much of an infinite amount of money on Batman and not enough of an infinite amount of money on community outreach. Well, here's an interesting little factoid. What's 1% of infinity? Infinity. Bruce Wayne has infinite money because he's a fictional character. Number two, the idea that he could solve people's problems only through philanthropy, community outreach is wrong. And that's a lot of what the Nolan trilogy is about. So I suggest rewatching those movies with that in mind as an underlying thing, particularly Dark Knight Rises, which does not get enough credit for this. But if you honestly believe that Bruce Wayne could solve Gotham's problems with his money, then why the fuck didn't his parents do it? It's not like they got killed too early before it could happen. They were doing it for years. The Waynes have been helping Gotham for decades. Before Thomas and Martha, the Wayne family has been the centerpiece of Gotham charity for decades, even centuries. So no, the idea that money solves all the problems of Gotham is wrong, and that's what Batman is for. So there is an overly long argument to your silly little point, Matthew Bennett. Anyway, let's go ahead and go on to Torchwood number 3. And Matthew, feel free to leave a response in the comments, but hold off. I will answer it when we get to the end of the show, because I would like to have that conversation more. But people are coming for the comics, too. So Torchwood number 3, written by John Barrowman and his sister, Carole Barrowman. Guys, I really want to like this, and there are things that I love about it, but it's not paced well, and it feels so long between issues that I'm having such a hard time keeping track of all the story points going on here. This is something, and I hate to say it, because if it's not bought in a single issue, then it's probably not going to keep going. This is something to be reading in trade. This is really something to be reading in trade, because its pacing is just nightmarish to try to keep up with for a single issue every couple months. And I'm not happy about that. Joel Davis is talking about Torchwood audio dramas, to his point. Regardless of that, though, like, there are things about this that I absolutely love, particularly these like little snide comments in narration, or in like little location tellers, whatever you call those, when you just get like a little blurb of where you are and when you are. So we get like a sleazy bar on a sleazy planet. And then we get like Jack royally putting his foot in it while our attention was elsewhere. Outside the sleazy bar, Captain John's assignation is not going well. Like, these little blurbs are really funny to me. I got to get to my favorite. Hold on. Still outside the sleazy bar. Seriously, you're at risk of 18 space diseases just holding this in your hand. That's really funny. That's just cute. It's clever. It's fun. I'm excited to see this character, this other time agent, again. I'm excited to see John Barrowman, and I'm liking the dialogue exchanges, but this book is paced for shit. Let me look something up. I'm curious. This is the benefit of doing this live. What I'm curious about is if Carole Barrowman has written comics before. Books. Okay. John and Carole Barrowman conjure imagination is a powerful thing. Look inside. Yeah, this is prose. I'm pretty sure all the stuff she and her brother have written, they write together, which is interesting. They just don't understand comics is the problem. They don't understand the medium, I think. And so they're having just a shit time with pacing. And that makes it, I'm sorry, but that's really important in a comic series. Yeah, everything on their website that they've written seems to be prose. And that's, you can't do that in a comic. You can't write like that, going scene to scene like that in a comic with so much time between issues. It's already bad enough to be writing like you're not having a month-long break when you're writing comics. But to be fair to them, that's becoming more and more a standard of the industry, which is why I'm excited to talk about what else I got here. That's a fairly big standard of the industry. But at the same time, you've got to get your pacing better if you're going to be writing for single. Otherwise, if you don't write so that what you're doing in single is readable, then you're not going to get your fucking collections. And that's a problem. Yeah, so I'm going to keep reading this. I'm going to hope it gets better. I loved the first issue. The second issue, I could not tell you what the fuck happened in it. Honestly, I cannot tell you. I have a feeling I'm going to feel the same way about this because I don't know what's developed in this issue, even just thinking about it. It's just pacing is that far off. And that's unfortunate. Let's go ahead and move on to Creepy, number 24. I picked this up off the stand. My new comic shop is a lot bigger than my old one, and they have a lot more varied selection week to week, so it took me a lot longer to go through the stands. And I just found this and was really excited. This is a couple months old. This came out in June. But it was the newest issue they had. That being said, I don't think I'm going to get any more issues because it's just a ripoff of Tales from the Crypt. But beyond that, it's slightly more serious in a couple stories, like the first one. But beyond that, what really annoyed me about it is it's all in black and white. Until literally, the only thing that's not in black and white is the very last page. And I'm sorry, that's just not cool in a comic. It's really not, guys. It makes reading your stuff just damn near impossible. Black and white comics are not something I enjoy. Maybe I'm spoiled, I don't know, but it makes reading them just unbearable at times. Like I can take comic strips, but full-blown comics, no, you can't do it. Especially when you have heavily detailed art. You need color to draw your eyes to different things because otherwise pencils and inks just blend together too much and it looks so washed out. Like this page. This all it is a single page. It's called the Monster Gallery, where they just give you like a section entirely devoted to showing a different monster every month or whatever. And I look at this, and so we have this monster thing right here. And I thought, okay, it's growing out of a tree. Then I had to really analyze it. Like, no, that's a person whose head has been ripped off and it's holding it in its mouth. And like this it's like kind of a ghost genie tale or whatever. That's not good that I have to like really stare at your image to understand anything about it. You can't do that. Philip Kelton says, what about gray tones like the first volume of Walking Dead? To be fair, I haven't read Walking Dead. I just don't like zombies. I just don't care for zombies, so I don't read Walking Dead. And I'm not saying that black and white can't be okay, but for certain you need to be writing for, or you need to be drawing knowing it's going to stay in black and white. Like, so much of this opening story is just completely washed out, and all you can see are the pencils. And it just looks like it was meant to be colored, because so much of it just washes over each other and you just lose it. It loses the impact. And that bothers me. I'm sorry. That's not good for reading. Nothing draws your eye to it. So I can't speak for Walking Dead. Grays are a bit better, though. Like the stuff in here that uses grays, like this little comic strip right here, is better. But no, that really bothers me. Some of the art looks really good too, if not for the fact that it was just so over. Let's see, what stories do I want to talk about? I'm kind of all right. Let's just go through here story by story and see if it's worth talking about. The first one is The Hymn of Ordeal number 23. And this was an interesting kind of sci-fi horror thing that, honestly, this feels like you could make an anime out of it. Philip Keaton's on me about black and white. There are exceptions to every rule. Just for this issue, I'm not picking up a comic that's always in black and white if this is the kind of quality that I can expect from the art. It's not something I can get into very often. That being said, let's talk about the Hymn of Ordeal number 23. Written by Rahanon Rasmussen Silverstein. Art by Ricardo Cabral. So we have this, it's very sci-fi, like high concept kind of horror, where we have an Earth that is at war with some kind of alien threat. And the only way that they can fight it is to kind of build machines out of their own people. I didn't even know what the DC Talent Showcase was. Scott Lehrer asking about that. It's apparently very expensive. I didn't know if it was actually an issue or what. No, but like they build ships out of their people. And it's like you have to basically give up your life to do this and then go fight in a war, and you're just a goddamn monster. They completely mutilate the shit out of you, and you help operate a machine. That's your new life function. And it's terrible and disgusting and yada yada. And then at the end, the sky opens up and the humans that have been mutilated come back in their ships with the aliens that they've been at war with the aliens saying, "Teach us to refasten our kin in your image, in the image of your shrieks. To be human, we too wish to cut the stars to thread." So it's just basically a neat little story about, becoming the monster you're fighting. I quite liked that. That was fun. It's just the art is so unintelligible because of the lack of color. Next story we got is A Deep Connection, which is just about a kid being bullied for looking like kind of a dork. but he's a big horror aficionado, and one of the bullies makes a reference that only he would get, and so then they go back and forth and they're friends now, which is fun. Just cute little one-off. There's some like more comedic, less hardcore stuff. And then we have the Monster Gallery, which just this, it's basically, from what I can glean, a creepy monster design with some kind of backstory written about it. It's just a single page. So that was neat. Creepy's Loathsome Lore. Just short little one-off, one-page stories here. Didn't really care for either of those. Home is Where two guys break into some kind of freak weirdo store, get like led down to the basement, fall down to the basement. And every door they open up, there's some kind of different monster, creepy-ass thing behind it. And they're not able to get out, and they go crazy because of it. Just all right. This story, this little one-page comic, Christoph Creepy, the Perfect Pet, is fucking hysterical. So have you ever heard the question, how does cat dog poop? Kyle Hill did a very interesting Because Science on it that I highly recommend watching. But anyway, this kid brings his uncle a puppy and a kitten and is told that he can only have one of them. They can only have one pet. So he says to his uncle, well, I hear you were a vivisectionist back in the day, so I was wondering if, say no more. And the kid leaves the animals with his uncle, and then uncle comes back. He's like, ta-da, here you go, lad. Oh, I hate to sound like an ingrate uncle, but I was hoping for a two-headed pet. How does cat dog poop? Well, that's not the issue anymore. It's more about how does cat dog survive without a brain? I really like that image. Screensaver? I think screensaver. Oh, that's just a good little one-off. There's something I do like about this is it is a lot like the original Tales from the Crypt comic, where you just have little quick rapid fire single page stuff. Some of it's not even stories. This is just a creepy looking grandma. I'm going to call it Grandma Creepy. And then we have the final story, which gave a little bit of credit, I was a little teeter-totter on it. But overall, I enjoyed this. It was pretty fucking dark. Just a little too... It's this odd tone where it's trying to be a bit throwbacky, but still have a very... They never would have fucking done that shit back in the day vibe to it. You wouldn't see this kind of thing done. It's too violent. It's too creepy. But it's got that old school feel to it. So you have a child murder his mother and stepfather in this because they secretly killed his father, and his father reached out from beyond the grave to let him know and encourage him to take their lives, and then they're in hell and yada yada yada. And it's an okay story, honestly. It's not like great. It's not going to blow your mind or anything, but I enjoyed it more than I thought I would when I just saw the first page. It gave itself a little more ground for me than I would have thought, because it's all about like, oh, he's a Chinese He's half Chinese, and his father recently passed, and he found his father's stuff up in the attic. And so you see this panel here, and you see, what is that? That's a Japanese samurai sword. So I'm like, ah, shit, here we go. But then they saved it. Danny's father, Li Wang, a World War II veteran in the Chinese army, killed a Japanese soldier in hand-to-hand combat. This sword was one of his father's most prized possessions. Not gonna lie, that was a good save. I question how old this kid is. Like, no, I don't question how old he is. They tell us he's 12. They also make very clear indications that we're not living in the 40s or 50s, though, or even the 60s. Everything about this, besides the fact that his father was apparently in World War II, feels very, it's happening today. So, I don't know. The last story was just okay overall, but I enjoyed it. So, horror is always cool. Anyway, I don't think I'll be adding this to my list. I very, very well might have. But you see, something else came on the stands at the comic shop. Something I am absolutely ecstatic excited for. Is there enough build-up? Is there enough suspense yet? I don't know. Maybe I should draw this out just a little bit longer. And you see what's coming for trade talk. Are you ready? Are you ready? Tales from the Crypt. I did a pretty good Crypt Keeper. Though this is classic Crypt Keeper, not 80s Crypt Keeper. It's a very important distinction. But no, they're bringing it back, man. It's legit. It is Tales from the Crypt. They got everything on here. It's the old title, the old featuring the storytellers. Happy horror days from the Ghoul Antics at Entertaining Comics and Super Genius. Puns of the Fear 2016. Oh man, I'm so excited for this. I hope it sticks around. Everyone watching needs to go buy this for me. You need to be supporting this comic so it doesn't get shit canned on my behalf. Okay? Oh, I'm already mad enough at you fuckers for not reading Bombshells. Man, I'm so excited for this. Like, just on the novelty of, yay, it's Tales from the Crypt again. I'm excited for it. But then, man, you wouldn't expect Tales from the Crypt to be a political as fuck book. But it is. I'm going to go to the letters page. Greetings, Fright fans. Just when you thought the world couldn't possibly get any worse, your old friend, the one and only, except no substitutes, Crypt Keeper returns with my fellow ghoul-lunatics. The Old Witch and the Vault Keeper to scare the bejesus out of you. If you thought the recent presidential election was scary, you ain't seen nothing yet. This issue, we return to the scene of the crime. You remember that little thing called the Great Recession, don't you? With 3 suspense stories set in and around Wall Street. We're all dying to find out what you think of these terror tales. So either EC mail us or send your fang mail through the postal system, and we'll run your destructive criticisms and causastic commentaries in the next installment of the Crypt Keeper's Corner. But in the meantime, we're forced to fill up space with dim-witted excerpts from an interview with our eccentric editor, which ran in the weekly rag called Comic Shop News, conducted by Crazy Cliff Biggers and entitled Jim Sauerkrupp unencrypted. The Crypt Keeper's Corner. I'm back. Love the Crypt Keeper. And they do make no bones about it. Greetings, boils and ghouls. It's me, the one and only original Crypt Keeper. I'll be completely honest. 80s Crypt Keeper over original Crypt Keeper any day of the week. No fucking question about it. I will fight you if you say otherwise. But I'm so excited for Tales from the Crypt, I don't even care. I want them to fight. Is that too much to ask for? They just that they fight each other? No, maybe so. That'd be a fun issue. Anyway, so yeah, it's a highly political issue. I tweeted at Kyle Andrews, the writer of Renato Jones, The 1%, that he should pick this up because we could very well have a crossover. I like the idea of doing a theme. We get 3 stories in this. We have 3 tale tellers, so we get 3 stories. And they're all centered around the theme of Wall Street and financial crisis. The first story, by far the least subtle, and I love how not subtle comics are. We have a rich billionaire who's kept himself alive for generations by, swindling people out of their organs. And he, chloroforms the fuck out of this lady to take both of her kidneys. And I think there's some kind of commentary in the fact that she's wearing pants with the American flag on it. I think that might be some kind of political statement, but I'm not sure what they're trying to say with that. Well, Haley's home. Hello.
Hi.
Haley's home. How's the movie?
Good.
Cool. I'm doing comic reviews.
I know.
Yeah, they're obviously doing a lot of just very, very apparent politics, which I can't get enough of. I love that comics is not subtle at all. In any case. So yeah, this guy just is an absolute tool bag, terrible monster. And yeah, people are protesting him for being too in control of the entire economy. And since they're on his land and throwing rocks through his windows, he sends out his army of drones to murder people. Yeah, you see the V for Vendetta mask? Once again, not fucking subtle. So I like that. Save the world, kill yourself. I love it. Yeah, and it's seriously the most non-subtle thing in the world. I really like it. The guy hires a PR consultant to make people to trick people into liking him or whatever. And she's had this secret plan to get back at him for what he did to her mother and to everyone else. And so it's just this monstrous little thing. And he's going to be dissected live on television, millions of people watching, blah, blah, blah. So I like that. Nice classic Tales from the Crypt ending. Turns out poor Brent couldn't keep the peace after all, or his pieces. Love it. Absolutely love it. Then we have The Old Witch's Tale, which is about a guy who works at a zombie bank. He killed his zombie boss because he was an awful person that had sex with his secretary and turned her into a zombie as well. Also, yeah, it's a bit more risque than I would expect from Tales from the Crypt, but they can come on the scene and be kind of with a boom. They can come on the scene with a boom. So yeah, he's He sees his boss his zombie boss having sex with this secretary that he's in love with, and she turns into a zombie too because of it. So he decides enough is enough, and he decides to kill his zombie boss, since that's the way to stop the zombie outbreak. And of course, that sounds ridiculous because it is. Turns out he just went crazy, and there was no zombies or anything. He just really hated his boss and was being so degraded by everyone around him that he lost it and saw the world as zombies and just killed an innocent man. It's just okay. It's like I don't even need it to be good or anything. It's as long as I'm entertained. I saw it coming a mile away. You probably did too, but fuck it, I thought it was fun. And then we have a story that the only thing I really like about it is the title. It ends entirely too quickly. But you gotta know, for me, as someone who just likes anthology comics, likes short story comic telling, I'm fine with something not being great. I am perfectly okay with mediocre. I will defend the fuck out of mediocrity. So this final story from The Vault Keeper is The Werewolf of Wall Street. This is my Jack Nicholson face. I like it. That's fun. That's just a fun title. In this story, rich people are being killed on Wall Street, and the police are investigating it. One detective isn't very sympathetic, but it doesn't matter because he's retiring anyway. Do get a cool image of someone dead on the bowl on Wall Street, which is really neat. Anyway, the detective is the one that's been committing the murders, but he's actually a werewolf, and his partner has to shoot him and kill him. And yeah. Nothing special. It all turns out that dog food was responsible. It's a stupid ending. I really don't care. It ends too quickly, I'll say. I don't feel the storytelling time was economized properly. But it's all kind of worth it for that image. I really like that image. Screensaver? I'm seeing some live comment chatter. Philip Kelton says, I remember there was a Tales from the Crypt TV show. The intro scared me. Love the intro of Tales from the Crypt. Interesting little thing. Listen to the intro music from Tales from the Crypt and the theme from Beetlejuice, both of which were composed by Danny Elfman, and people accuse John Williams of repeating himself. So yeah, do that. It's like John Williams, there's a distinct difference still between Indiana Jones, Superman, and Star Wars. Ba 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 ba. Da 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 da, and then ba 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 ba. So there's like it's very similar certainly, and I'm glad you're enjoying my musical serenading. It's very similar, certainly, with John Williams and his famous scores, but there is a discernible difference. You can learn the difference. There's no fucking difference. It's the exact same song between Beetlejuice and Tales from the Crypt. I swear to God, there's no difference whatsoever. It's hilarious. So John Williams straight up plagiarized, or not John Williams, Danny Elfman straight up plagiarized himself from Tales from the Crypt. I love Tales from the Crypt's intro. Akuma Ranger says, have you ever seen the weird Saturday morning version of Tales from the Crypt? I remember seeing the intro for that one. And honestly, that makes sense because I remember as a kid, my brother would watch Tales from the Crypt on our stolen HBO. And I would want to watch it with him, and my mom would never let me, and so she'd usher me out of the room. So I really wish I knew that was a thing growing up, because that would have been great for me to watch, but no such luck there. Joel says, I now want to see a geeky gentleman that deals with the topic of mediocrity. I could do that. No lie. And Philip Kelton says, I always mix the Superman theme with the Robotech theme. Robotech? You mean RoboCop, maybe? Matthew Bennett says, I honestly feel like you could do a geeky gentleman on anything at this point. Motherfucker, one of our earliest episodes was talking about the ethics of time travel. Of course we could do a geeky gentleman on anything. Fuck. Do it. Maybe. Anyway, so yeah, I'm happy that we get Tales from the Crypt in comic book form again. That's exciting. I'm just happy. Yay, I added this to my pull list in the store. I didn't even need to read the first issue. You can also follow at EC Comics on Twitter. I plan to. I'm excited to see if we get Crypt Keeper tweeting. I'm going to see if I can pitch them a story, or at least an intro, a little brief thing of the Crypt Keepers fighting. That would be fun. If you haven't watched Tales from the Crypt, it is definitely worth your time. I love Tales from the Crypt. The television show is awesome. So I highly suggest checking it out. Anyway, I'm going to go take a quick break because, goddamn, I've been talking for a while. So people watching this after the fact, go ahead and skip to the next timestamp. People watching live, I'm sorry, that's part of coming on live, is you just have to deal with me taking a quick break. I wish I had something else I could do about it, but I cannot. So I will be back in a moment. Oh. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm back. Sorry about that. But as I said, sometimes you just need a second. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about Doctor Who, the Supremacy of the Cybermen. This is the 5-part series, which I was, of course, unable to get a hold of. Week to week, month to month, whatever. But now I have it. Is it any good? Nah. It's pretty typical. What more pisses me off about it than anything, though, you look at this cover. I should probably take it out of the sleeve. But, I mean, seriously, come on now. Look at that cover. We got 12th Doctor, the 10th Doctor, 11th Doctor, 9th Doctor, all just chilling on the cover. Looking pretty fucking epic. What kind of story do you think you're going to get? Especially when they set it up with all these little mini stories in the back of a bunch of issues with the Cybermen kidnapping other previous doctors. Maybe a Doctor Who crossover story where you have doctors on screen or on panel page together talking with one another. interacting to solve the problem together. No. Nope. Just no. No doctor interaction. None whatsoever. Each of the doctors, 9, 10, 11, and 12, are dealing with the Cybermen in different ways. All of them are failing, except for 12 in the end. That's not what this cover... I don't know, comic book covers lie. But why would you even bother? Why would you bother doing a big doctor, like multi-doctor thing if you're not going to have the doctors on page together? The fuck? Like, I understand why you wouldn't do some shit like that in the show. It's hard to get the doctors together on screen, either because some of them are dead, the technology isn't quite there as far as the BBC's budget is concerned, or you want it to be special when you have the actors on screen. I totally understand not doing that in the show. That's what the comics are for. Why would you do something like this? That's stupid. It's just stupid. That's bad marketing. And then the story itself ends pretty basically. Okay, so spoilers for those whom, like myself, have not seen the latest season of Doctor Who. Apparently Rassilon is back. And the Doctor defeated him and yada, yada, yada. Or maybe that's what happened in the 12th Doctor comic. I don't fucking know. But in any case, this is a 12th Doctor story. Don't be fooled by any of the scenes with the other Doctors. This is through and through a 12th Doctor story. He's the one that does everything that saves the day. So anyway, the Doctor is on Gallifrey, and Rassilon has teamed up with the Cybermen to rule the universe. Or not rule the universe so much as remake it in his image. The Cybermen are bowing down to Rassilon. Would anyone like to guess whom or how this story is going to end? No guesses. Cybermen betray Rassilon at the very end, like every fucking Cybermen story where, yep, Joel got it in the comments. Cybermen betray Rassilon, just like every other fucking Doctor Who story with the Cybermen and like some kind of king or ruler or whatever. They let him think he's in control until the very end when they betray his ass. That's all that happens. So we get like these other things that are going on. So each Doctor is dealing with the Cybermen in different eras. Each Doctor is dealing with the Cybermen in their own time period and different eras of history. And so they're each trying to beat them, but they're each failing in completely different ways. And it's only the 12th Doctor who's able to finally outsmart them and defeat the Cybermen, but ultimately they everyone forgets what happened. It's such a lazy way to get out of it. Just guys, it's the sound I make. Let me see here. Okay. There is one moment that makes at least one of the issues worth buying. And I was telling Joel about this. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so the 9th Doctor runs inside the TARDIS and they try to escape in it, but it blows up. And they get kind of like thrown across the room. And I like interior TARDIS stuff. I just really enjoy that. Everyone gets kind of blasted across the room. Well, this is another issue. This is why when I do trade talk, I like to actually have a trade. Oh, where's that? So, TARDIS blows up. Doctor's thrown across the room. Rose, Doctor! She's over 900 years old. She survived the Time War. She faced down the Armadas, traversed other universes, and Rose, you should have seen her on the Kessel Run. She was fantastic. Yay! The TARDIS was on the Kessel Run. I really appreciate that. That's a good-ass panel. That's just a really fun panel. Oh, yay. The Doctor talking about the TARDIS and the Kessel Run. Brilliant. But anyway, so the TARDIS blew up, and they notice that the walls start closing in, and they're like, it's shrinking. The engines are going critical. She's going to implode. She's going to what? Kaboom! She's folding in on herself to save the planet, collapsing to form a protective shell around the implosion. In other words, everyone out. I really like that. That's just fun. You know, a little clever writing for the TARDIS since it's infinite space. There are moments in here that I like, and then there are other things that I feel are completely out of character. The Doctor, the 10th Doctor in particular, agrees to lead an army of Centaurans. I'm sorry, that's not the Doctor, no matter what the situation is. And not only does he agree to it, it's essentially his idea. He seeks the Centaurans out in the hopes of, you know, using them as an army for him to fight the Cybermen. Because he's aware of the threat, even though he doesn't tell Gabby and Cindy. There's actually another Star Wars reference, but nothing half as good as the Kessel Run. So yeah, this isn't a particularly good series. It's not like overly bad. It's just incredibly predictable and very disappointing to have stuff with multiple Doctors and not have the Doctors interact. It's just foolish. So I was disappointed by that. Also, I don't like Peter Capaldi's Doctor Who costume anymore. The way they draw it looks terrible. Let's see here. What does he say? Like, how does he beat them? Will you fight? No, I can't do it alone this time. I've tried that already and failed. I'm seeing memories I've never made, times that never existed. The Cybermen are rewriting history. I tried to change them, to become them, to destroy them. It was all to stop you interfering, shutting down time travel, keeping your other selves occupied with hopeless causes. And it almost worked until you had them plug me in and I could see it all happening at once. It's time for a different approach, working together. I became a warrior to fight in your war, Rassilon. I need you to become a doctor to fight in mine. Help me heal the universe. So, like, I like the way that he beats the Cybermen because they've been collecting regeneration energy to restart the universe and reshape it in their own image. And so the way that they're able to defeat the Cybermen is to use the regeneration energy of Time Lords to heal the universe. And that's how no one remembers what happened. I don't know. Overall, though, didn't care for this. It's not very well done. It's more just disappointing than anything. And that's about the worst it can be, honestly. Some of these Doctor Who comics are really hit and miss for me. Matthew Bennett says Cybermen versus the Borg. Yeah, that could be a thing. Alternatively, if you want to do DC and Star Trek crossover, or Superman and Star Trek crossover, Brainiac and the Borg could merge, or vice versa. Let's go back here, look through some of the comments. Saw the premise. Joel says, I saw the premise of Supremacy of the Cybermen. It seemed interesting. Cybermen getting mastery of time and becoming the dominant threat in the universe, overpowering the Daleks. But personally, I feel this would make an interesting audio drama. No. Don't care about the finale of Doctor Who. It ends with the bloated corpse of Orson Welles coming back and killing everyone with an empty wine bottle. No, but close. If I were doing a Cybermen story, this is Joel. If I were doing a Cybermen story, I'd want to see a massive Dalek Cybermen war for who is the biggest bad guy in Doctor Who. Well, Russell T Davies gave you that, and it was a pretty definitive answer. There's a really funny video from Lord Jazer about that moment, and it's just the Daleks like talking shit about the Cybermen. It's really fucking funny. Akuma Ranger says, I wonder if the Time Lords had a come to Jesus moment when they gave leadership to Rassilon after the Time War. Maybe. I don't know. Hooray, my Star Wars and the Doctor Who headcanon is canon. Good job. Now I don't feel bad doing that crossover in my fan fiction series. Good for you. There we go. Okay. Oh. What else? Yeah, I didn't really care for Supremacy of the Cybermen, unfortunately. And after as worked up as I got to fucking read the book, too. What can you do? Anyway, how long have we been doing this? I know there's a thing that tells me. It just says live. I don't know. I don't know how long I've been broadcasting for. I'll go till 9:45, maybe 9:50 for Q&A if you guys want. If no one has anything, that's fine too. Matthew Bennett, if you have any rebuttal to my argument about Batman and the way in which he uses his wealth, I'm happy to hear it. But, you know, we'll see. Kuma Rangers thinking of a Doctor Who Battlestar Galactica crossover. Never watched Battlestar Galactica, but I'm cool with Doctor Who crossing over with anything. We're getting Star Trek Green Lantern Volume 2 in the coming month. So I'm really excited for that. I'm happy to see a lot of my favorite sci-fi franchises crossover. It's awesome. Philip Kelton says, your shirt reminds me a lot of the cover of Batman versus Aliens. What's the Batman versus Aliens cover look like? I'm curious now. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Oh, hey, Ron Mars wrote that. Interesting. I don't know. That's a fairly common thing to do, split someone down the middle. I like the shirt. Haley got it for me. Matthew Bennett says, I don't have a rebuttal. You made very good points. Booyah! I have thought entirely too much about that. Oh, Philip, you can watch back through the episode once it's posted. It was during toward the end of the discussion on the Batman Annual. We were talking about the way Batman uses his money, if it's irresponsible or if he should be doing more for the community. So you can go check that out later if you'd like. It's toward the end before we get to Torchwood. Joel says, if Tom King wrote Star Wars, what should he write? Ooh, fuck. Oh, don't put that in my head. Why would you do that? What the fuck? Joel, why would you do that to me? Oh, be still my beating heart. Okay. The thing is, Tom King very understandably doesn't want to be a typecast writer that only gets recruited, as it were, to write very particular things like spy stuff or military stuff. So part of me wants to say, just as a knee-jerk reaction, it'd be really interesting to see him do some stuff with clones or with stormtroopers, something with the whole military aspect. But something else I'd be curious to see him write would be Yoda. I really want a solo Yoda series, and with the way that Tom King commands thematic use or thematic devices in his storytelling, I feel like he could deliver a really interesting take on a Yoda solo series. So I'd read a Yoda series written by Tom King. Okay. Matthew Bennett asks, all right, what's worse, apathy or ignorance? Willful ignorance. I guess I'd say ignorance, because at that point you're choosing to remain uninformed about an issue, whereas apathy, you can't really help it. Apathy, I see more as a defense mechanism, whereas willful ignorance I see as cowardice. Yeah, Joel, you're with me on the idea of him writing, clone stuff. That'd be cool too. Kuma Ranger, don't really care about the 09 Trek books. Personally, felt like the writers don't play around that Kelvin timeline. That's fair, but I really enjoyed the first volume of Green Lantern Star Trek overall. I did reviews of it on this show, so you can go back to those if you'd like. But I thought it was fine. Some stuff here and there that I wish they would have done differently, but overall I liked the story. So, and they did play around with the Kelvin timeline, particularly with Vulcan being a dead planet. Philip, to your comment, just go watch the section where I'm talking about that after this is over, and maybe I will completely change your mind. Joel says, oh, that's cool, or maybe Count Dooku. I'd love to see Count Dooku comic. He's actually interesting, cool in the EU. I don't think anyone else would read it. How do you feel about American exceptionalism? I think I know what you mean by that term, but will you explain the term for me so I make sure I'm answering in a coherent way? Kuma Ranger asks, would you prefer a single companion for the Doctor or a team TARDIS for the Doctor? No, I like single companions because they give us a window into what's going on and a chance for exposition and all that stuff. So I like single companions. I like more of a rotating cast of companions, though. That was probably my biggest problem with Matt Smith's run is until Clara, it was all Amy and Rory, and that got really annoying. Why couldn't we just have the Doctor and River for a season or whatever? Too much of it was just the same two people. Same with David Tennant. Rose got old really quickly, but that had more variation in companions. So honestly, what I'd like more of as far as Doctor Who companions go is I would like more characters that are not modern day Earth. I would like, some more historical Earth characters or far off things, or alien. I would like an alien companion consistently. That would be cool. Matthew Bennett, your definition of American exceptionalism. We can know bad by definition because we are, insert name here. We can do no bad by definition because we are Americans. It's kind of a might makes right argument. It's bullshit no matter what you get to. Americans should be held accountable for their actions no matter what. I was doing the election 2016 video with Manos, and he made a point that I feel a lot of people in this country make that they don't really realize. He said, if you're going to call America an empire, there are worse empires to be ruled by. Easy for you to say. And I'm not mad at Manos or anything for that. I understand where that thinking came from. I used to think that way. American empire is a very big problem. So this idea that we can do no wrong, we have the best interests of the world at heart. No, we have our best interests at heart, and we just market ourselves really well. So it's bullshit. Don't accept arguments based on it. Great. Now I want a Doctor and Queen Elizabeth series. Yeah, like Doctor Who and Queen Elizabeth, or I can never remember her name, but Tom Baker's Doctor, they did a lot of experimenting with companions, because obviously everyone remembers Sarah Jane, but you also had Ramona 1 and 2, who was a Time Lord companion. That was great. And you had, I can never remember her fucking name, but she was from a colony, a group of colonists left Earth to go populate a planet, but their ship crashed and their culture degraded back into tribalism. And so you had someone who was very bright, but socially was not educated. So she was unable to understand a lot of the things initially, and she had very tribalistic views that were kind of silly, but still. And she learned with the Doctor. The Doctor liked how smart she really was. So I really liked that. I thought that was a clever idea for a companion, and I wish we had stuff like that. Matthew Bennett wants to see the Doctor fist fight a velociraptor. Watch the episode Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. Not a fist fight, but Doctor Who versus Velociraptors. Leela was the name of the companion. Thank you, Joel. And she fought in the Time War. That I did not know. What else can we talk about here? What else have you guys got for me? Also, just a random thing on Doctor Who. Initially when the show was pitched, they didn't want to have aliens and sci-fi be involved in too much of it, even though it was a time travel show about a time-traveling alien. They didn't want it to be, bug-eyed monsters, as they called it in the Adventure Through Time and Space special. So when it was time travel, it was meant to be at least educational in some way, shape, or form, though it fucking wasn't. It was meant to be educational about these different eras of history, and there were no aliens involved. I would love to see that again. I would love a Doctor Who episode where we just went to the past, and it was just the past, and we didn't have aliens or behind it thing. Just for one episode. That would be enjoyable again. Dinosaurs on a Spaceship sucked because they didn't do anything with that T-Rex. Well, I can't argue with that. Joel asks, how did Haley and I meet? We were both taking 3D modeling class together, and we just started talking on Twitter and stuff, and yeah, that's how we met. Question, was there ever a moment that you wanted to scream at the writers? I'm assuming you're talking about Doctor Who, but if you're talking about just anything in general, the entirety of Scott Snyder's run, and I did it, and then I kind of felt bad. But if you're talking about Doctor Who, I wanted to scream at Stephen Moffat, just fucking leave already. by the time we got to the end of series 8. You know, the more I've thought about that series, the more I'm like, God, it's just not very well done. It's got too many things going on in it. So yeah, by the time we get to the end of that, I really wanted him not to be writing any Doctor Who anymore. Like, he's good at some aspects of it, but it's just, he shouldn't be on the project anymore. We need someone else to come in and write the character, because he doesn't know how to leave. Matthew Bennett says, I watched BVS and the best part was when my dad coughed so hard he farted. Thank you for that insightful take on Batman versus Superman. Matthew, you're a lovely addition to the channel. Thank you so much for coming to these live. You just brighten up the whole experience. I usually don't care for live shows. The technology just isn't very good, so it's fun to have, you know, people to interact with. Joel says Moffat works best, I think, under supervision, kind of like George Lucas in a weird way. No, I agree. I think he was a much better writer when he wasn't able to do whatever the fuck he wanted. And then even in his early seasons when he still had to prove himself to people, now they kind of just let him go off and do whatever the fuck he wants, and I think it's destroying the character. No, I take that back. It's not destroying the character, but it's getting really stale because we're so used to it by now. Oh, what else have you got for me? Fire me some more questions. Got 9 minutes. Oh, what else is going on in the world? What else can I talk about? No, I got nothing. I'm kind of bored. Boring life. I'm boring. I had to take the feet off of my couch because my lizard kept crawling under it, and now that he's getting bigger, it's harder and harder to get him out when he doesn't want to be taken out from under the couch. So I had to take the feet off of it, so it just sits flat on the ground now, and the couch is significantly lower. And so yeah, that's fun. The joys of owning a pet. What would you want to see a what if story of Batman killing Joker, if only if the story dealt with the after effects of the action? I don't know. Let me think about that one. That's hard. Yeah, I guess I'd like to see the ramifications of Batman killing the Joker, but to be honest with you, I think the ramifications either Batman goes on a killing spree because Joker would have pushed him to that point, or Batman kills himself. So I don't know. I don't know how interesting it would be. I think it's just more interesting from a narrative standpoint to read him not killing the Joker. Kuma Ranger asks, was there ever a story that you thought was wasted potential you want to give a second shot? Death in the Family. Not Death of the Family. Fuck that. Throw it away. Burn every copy. But Death in the Family. Death in the Family is a genius little thing that there's so much potential for, but it's a stupid story that we only remember because Jason Todd died. On a similar note, Death of Superman, Superman Doomsday, terrible. Read it now, terrible. If you don't know everything about comics in the 90s, you will have no idea what's going on for the first half of that book. It's ridiculous. They clearly did not understand what they were doing. So Death of Superman, yeah. Like, people say the Superman Doomsday movie isn't as good as the book. Much rather watch the movie than read the book because at least they understand the gravity of that story. There's Matthew Bennett says there's a new military that's designed for war to last for generations. Yeah, because it's gotten harder and harder to fight a traditional war because now it's all just about insurgencies. Philip Kelton says, I'm pretty new here, so favorite Batman film? Dark Knight, easy answer. Sorry. Philip Kelton says the ramification of Batman killing the Joker is Batman Returns. Yeah, mad killing machine. Good point. Joel says, if you could go back in time, kill Hitler. Oh, wait, he says, first off, you can't kill Hitler, but change the course of comic book history. What would you change? And don't go for the easy stop, the new 52 answer. No, I would get rid of the Comics Code Authority. I would find a way, if I could, to eliminate the Comics Code Authority and do fucking pay Jack Kirby what he deserved and pay a lot of the writers and artists what they deserve. Give them credit. Maybe, kick Bob Kane in the balls when he went to go try and copyright Batman and Robin, or Batman, Bruce Wayne, all that stuff, without any credit to Bill Finger. Just deal with there's a lot of shitty things. Comics Code Authority seems like the biggest one. I was talking about Tales from the Crypt earlier. They got killed because of the Comics Code Authority. Akuma Ranger asks, should Marvel pull the trigger and make 616 Spider-Man a legacy hero? Yeah. Who fucking is reading Peter Parker right now? They don't know what they're doing with him anymore. Either just make him a legacy hero, or, for the love of God, get rid of for one more day and let him be an adult. Marvel and fucking time make no sense anyway, but why not just have grown-up Peter Parker dealing with being Spider-Man and adult issues? So that's so much to ask for. Why does he always have to be like the young one and all this crap? It's stupid. Just let him be an adult. If you feel like it's not compelling for younger kids, then have your alternate stuff that you can read a young Spider-Man in. Let Peter Parker grow up. Why not? What's so wrong with that? Oh. Joel says, have you ever wanted to do a geeky gentleman on superheroes and generational appeal, such as should some superhero films be suitable for kids while others shouldn't, that sort of thing? I feel like we've talked around that so much. I feel like it depends on the story you want to tell and what you want to put on screen. I don't like that for a long time, Deadpool kind of broke this, but for a long time, every superhero movie had to be rated PG-13. We had to cut and paste and make everything work around that idea. It's not any good. So I'm glad that Deadpool's letting us push the boundaries and start doing more R-rated superhero movies. I think, though, we also need some more G-rated superhero movies that are of pre-existing properties that people actually give a fuck about. So take that for what you will. How come video game movies are always terrible? The creator of God of War had an interesting thought about this, and I don't know how right he is, but it is something worth noodling about. He says that he thinks video game movies don't work because so much of video games are trying to capture what makes movies work, are trying to be cinematic and are trying to emulate cinema in a lot of ways, but make it playable, make it interactive. And so when you do a movie of a video game, because video games are already pulling so many tropes and like iconography from genre films, it kind of feels like you're just watching a very typical genre film. So that's his argument, and it is something that I kind of do think about. That's something I tend to agree with. Joel says, I'm seeing Jared Leto Joker action figures for the little ones. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's messed up. All right, guys. I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of Comic Reviews. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll be back next week. And for trade, I'll be talking about Godzilla Rage Across Time, issues 1 through 5. See you then.